Alright, this is for all of you that are, how the heck do I do this? All the way back from assignment 3.1. Alright, so to start off, you need these two big things right here. So we need, I'll just draw and I'll erase it. This, all this, and this end right here, we need all this for sine of bx. Okay? Alright, that's for sine. And then over here, this block, you're gonna need this for cosine. Alright, so depending on the problems, depending on which one we're going to use. And I'll go into more detail as we go through the problem. Alright, so our first problem is y, number 13, which is y equals 2 cosine of x. So we'll start off by labeling A and B. Okay, so A is the number in front of the sine or the cosine, and then B is the number in front of x. So A for this one is 2, and B is 1. And since this is cosine, I'm going to be looking at that block right there. So in order to graph these, we need 5 points, because the graphs repeat after these 5 points. They just keep going on and on forever, but this is the 5 points that make up the width of the period, it's called. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is my left endpoint. So left end point, LEP, and that is 0, A. Okay, so all I got to do is, all right, A is 2. I'm going to plug A in there. So this is 0, 2. Now my next point is my first quarter point, first QP, and that is pi over 2B, 0. We'll substitute the value of B in for this one, which happens to be 1. So pi over 2 times 1, 0. You got to clean it up so it doesn't look all crazy like that. So I have pi over 2 times 1, 2, and 0. Okay, and then my midpoint is pi over B, negative A. So this one requires a little more work. So plug in my B, which is 1, so pi over 1, comma, negative A. So A is 2, so now it's a negative 2. I'll simplify the problem. Pi over 1 is just pi, and negative 2 will stay negative 2. Third point is called my third quarter point. This is 3 pi over 2b, 0. Okay, so 3 pi over 2 times b, which is 1, comma, 0. Let's simplify. So I have 3 pi over 2 times 1 is 2, and then 0. And then my right end point is 2 pi over b. Sorry, my daughter wants a snack right now. And A. So it's 2 pi over b, which is 1. And then my A is 2. And we clean it up. And we get 2 pi and 2. Okay, so the points that we need are the ends right there. Now to graph this, just gonna make a graph like you would probably have to. Sketch it out. Okay. My amplitude is this A here, so that's how high it goes up and how high it goes down. So I'm going to do 1, 2 tick marks up, 1, 2 tick marks down, and then my first point, x value is at 0, so then I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 points off to the right, and I'm just going to write down what my 4 points are starting with there. It's 1, that's going to be 2, that's going to be 3, that's going to be my fourth one. So this will be pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and then 2 pi. And you can basically do this with all the problems. So now I need to plot the points. My first point, my left end point, is at 0, 2. So x is 0, y is 2. Plot that first point right there.
Did you see I didn't drink your drink?
So that's 0, 2. My son is telling me he didn't steal my juice. My next one is at pi over 2, 0. And then my next one is at pi negative 2. Okay, and then 3 pi over 2, 0. And then 2 pi back up to 2. Now these cosine graphs tend to look more like a V than the sine functions. So here we come down. And then that's all that is required. Those 5 points plotted. So that's how we do cosine. Alright, and then the other one is sine. So number 14 is y equals 3 sine of x. I'm going to label. A is 3, B is 1. Flip to my page in my notes so I don't have to scroll up. So we're going to do our left endpoint, which is 0, 0 for sine. My first quarter point, which is pi over 2b a. So now I'll just move along and I'll plug in what I have. So pi, 2 times b is 1, and a is 3. Simplify. Pi, 2 times 1 is 2, and then 3. And then first quarter point's done. Now my midpoint is pi over b, 0. Substitute b in, which is 1 and 0. Simplify, because pi over 1 is just pi, and 0. Third quarter point is 3 pi over 2b negative a. Substitute a and b in, so 3 pi over 2 times 1, negative a makes it negative 3. Simplify my fractions, so I get 3 pi over 2, negative 3. Okay, and then my right endpoint is 2 pi over b, 0. Substitute b in, so it's 2 pi over 1, 0. Simplify again, you get 2 pi and 0. So the points we need to graph, left endpoint didn't have to do any work to, and our simplified ones for each of these. So again, just I'm going to sketch a graph. Doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, my amplitude is 3. So I'm going to do 3 tick marks up and 3 tick marks down. And then my first point's at 0, 0. So that means I have 4 points to the right of 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Label them. This is the first one, second one, third one, fourth one. So it'd be pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. And plot these points. First one is at the origin, 0, 0. Pi over 2 is up 3. Pi is back at 0. All right, and then the next one's will be down 3. So there's a pattern as we go through this. It's up 3, down 3, down 3, up 3, up 3, and it kind of just goes through it. But if you look at the order of pairs, 3 pi over 2 is at -3, and 2 pi is at 0. All right, so this is the period of this graph. So it'll continue repeating every 5 points to the left and right, like this forever. There we go. And that is the graph of y equals 3 sine of x. Now, obviously, they get harder depending on the a value and the b value and if there's any shifts, but that's in 3.2. So hopefully this helped. Get back to me if we need any extra help.